Today's video, I kind of want to go through my E30 and look for what potential rust I might need to repair. I'm about to get started on actually doing the rust repair that's going to involve, cutting out the metal, putting new metal in. I'm going to try to pick up a lot of already bent pieces and replacement panels. But before I go ahead and place that order, I want to kind of go through and kind of understand fully what I'm getting myself into. I think I've mentioned it in the past that I'm going to start with the rear of the car and then work my way forward. So what I need to start with is getting some of like the bumpers out of the way, more of the carpet material in the trunk, maybe the seats out, and start looking at the floor pan. But I just have to start pulling it apart to see how bad it is. I'm not going to go in today and try to grind out some of the paint just to see how far the rust might spread. It's really just kind of a visual surface. First glance, there's some very obvious spots that I'm going to have to work through. So yeah, let's start digging into this E30. Figured we'll be poking around all throughout the car, so might as well get it up in the air on some jack stands, and then maybe it'll make like the bumper an easier height to work with. There we go. Eventually I will be yanking out kind of I think I'm gonna go for the full rear subframe. Definitely wanna pull the gas tank and the differential. So I think some of the rust I'm gonna have to pull the subframe to work around it. That'll be hopefully coming soon and hopefully isn't as bad as some of the horror stories I've seen online. Now, it's been a while since I put these on. I can't quite remember what size bolts there are, but there should just be a couple holding it in and then maybe a couple on the side. You could probably already see the battery box that's rotted out here. Already we know some of the spots that we're gonna have to fix the rust on. This is just in front of the passenger rear wheel. And down here, kind of on the bottom of the sill, is where I think I need to pull the subframe to kind of work in this area. The battery box, or lack thereof, is going to be a huge area that's going to take a lot of work to figure out. Both areas of the license plate lights are pretty rotted. Small spot to fix, but interesting bends. I do think there actually are replacement pieces that are pre-cut for the lights to fit into. There are some spots still in the rear, kind of where I guess the diving boards might have bolted up to or whatnot. Now with the Euro bumpers, I don't need this, so we'll probably cut this whole piece out and just replace it with a flat panel. And again, there's a few other spots across the back where the diving board bumpers would have went to. We'll just fill those in as we go because we're going to be European bumpers from here on out. We have this spot on the rear left. Not as bad on the passenger side, but still another area that we're going to have to tackle. I've showed it in, I think, a couple videos now, but if we're, at the front of the car, kind of back where I guess the wheel would kick up a ton of water or, being from the East Coast, the salt and the snow that kind of just build up in this region right here, that whole area is rotted out. So this entire corner on both sides will need to be replaced inside the wheel well. The bottom of the door, mostly the driver door, is pretty rotted. Not entirely sure if this is going to be an easy change for me to do or if it would just make more sense to find a spare door that looks a lot better. And then really on both sides, more so I think on the driver's side, the entire length of the sill where this lip is, so this is the front jacking point, they're either crushed or fully rotted. It's pretty bad all the way down. I put a lot of this blame actually on a Firestone in Baltimore. I took the car in kind of an emergency situation to get looked at, and I swear they lifted it wrong, and this is where the original crush in this region came from. But now we have a ton of work ahead of us to fix this area. You can see it's almost non-existent. Maybe it's a little bit of luck. A lot of the areas in the engine bay and the sill where I guess the wipers are, that area looks pretty good. So I don't think I have to worry too much about there. Really just underneath the car, along the sills, and a lot in the rear. But of course, we'll dig into it just to make sure that there actually is nothing up front. Maybe if we get super adventurous, some of those holes in the engine bay, we could fill those in with just blank panels and do a slight bit of an engine bay shaving, but nothing too crazy up there. I can't quite remember if I can just loosen the bumper to take it off or if I have to remove the trim first to be able to get it off. So we're just going to start working on some of the bolts and see what we get. Okay, it's getting pretty loose. Ta-da! Guess I can also remove some of the old, I guess, turn signal wiring that was in the US metal bumpers. Might as well mark the bolt holes that I no longer need. Really just keeping 2 up here, 2 on this side. There's a bunch more that can go. The Euro bumper brackets are still in. You can see they just need 2 spots there. This large hole where I guess the bumper shock used to be, where it mounted to. I don't know what these little ones are, but all of those can be filled in as we work through our rust back here. Dang. All right, maybe undo the wiring harness before you take the bolts out so you don't accidentally push your taillights to the floor. Little crack on the inside. You can just glue that back in, nobody will ever know. I am putting all the bolts back on afterwards so I don't lose anything, because I could imagine that a lot of these small, like these are 8mm bolts, we could lose those. This taillight's actually been replaced once already. I don't know how, but it got a hole directly in the rear, almost like a rock or something was thrown at it. So I got both taillights out, and I was a little worried because I've seen this as a trouble spot on other E30s. And we just have a few little bits of surface rust. I think with a wire brush that'll just clean up real nice. The driver's side looks even better, just a bit of dirt. So with that, I think we'll be able to get away without having to replace the full back panel. Just fill in a few spots that we no longer need. And then the battery box will be just the pane back here. And of course, the license plate lights that I've mentioned. Pop the license plate and the plate filler off. What I am tempted to do is try to make this piece out of carbon fiber. It's not a weight saving, but I think it might look kind of cool back there. And it should be a part within my skill set. Nothing too complicated about it. This part's kind of fun, so I figured I would show it. To get this piece of trim off, there's like these 4 push pins, and we just have to knock the center out. Already did one, last one. Now they should pry out pretty nice, and we have our trim off. And now to see how gross any of this rust on this lip is around where the weather stripping seal is. Looks a little worn down pitted in the middle, but hopefully, I mean, it's pretty sturdy. We'll smack it with a screwdriver, eventually knock off some of this rust, but it looks like we might have gotten away with good metal. Here's the worst of it, just kind of moving across the lip. Right in the middle, it's bad, but beyond that, looks pretty good. So I have the full rear kind of disassembled to the point of I can see what I need to work on. And I think the rear, this is a good spot to stop for now. Inside the trunk in that corner there looks to be a spot that's going to need a lot of attention. I think some of these other areas, the flashlight is pretty bright. I think some of these other areas are mostly surface rust. Those 2 spots there might need attention. This is leftover adhesive from the tar sound deadening that was here. The battery box does have issues moving forward. Here's another view of it. You can see that's the same hole we were just looking at from the inside. Kind of the fuel hose covering bit above. That looks pretty bad, so we'll replace that when we do the fuel system, but it doesn't look like there's too many rust holes up there. It'll just be kind of tackling the battery box all over in every bit and corner that it touches. So yeah, time to get the car back on the ground and move into looking at our next areas. Next up's going to be kind of working on the interior and seeing if any of the floor panels might need replacing. So I'm going to go ahead, get the seats off, probably these sills. That'll let me get to the carpet. I'm not taking out the dash. I'm not taking out the heater core, the heater box, and all that stuff. So I will take out the center console. And then I think you're supposed to cut your carpet right up there. So when the center console is on, you don't see your cut line. but we will be cutting the carpet to get it out. Probably could use a nice deep cleaning as well. So yeah, let's start working on getting these seats out. The rails definitely have some surface rust on them, but I don't think it should be anything too bad. There we go. I used to actually take the seats out and do like a full vacuum of the carpet, but it's probably been a long time since I've ever done that. Seat number 1. Rear seat coming out. I get why some of the race car drivers for the E30 say the 4 doors are better because you just get more access back here. But 2 doors look better. Here's the rest of the rear seat coming out. And there it is. Blue houndstooth. The driver's side carpet's a lot grimier, probably from me snacking all the time. You can see the seat is definitely in a bit more rough shape than the passenger seat. Would be nice to replace these with something, but I think I'd rather spend the money right now on a new diff. Next, I gotta work on getting this out of the way, and also the kick panels, and like I said, the sills. We're getting there. Carpet's getting closer to being removed. Another piece out of the way. Would like to leave the shift knob on just because I know it's gripped on there so well. I don't want to accidentally punch myself in the face trying to get that off. So should be able to leave that on and kind of wiggle everything else around it. Okay, we should be in a good spot. Normally keep my wideband clip tucked under the center console, but we'll go ahead and get the window switches undone. There we go. Ta-da! Pile of parts. It's always a little concerning when some, I guess, wire nut ends fall out and you're like, are there now live open wires somewhere in there? Probably on the back of the radio, but something we should investigate eventually. So I don't know how well you can see me in here. I have everything cut along the way. I had kind of like a modeling knife and like a really good box cutter, so I went around, got that cut. I think everything should be free. Now it's just about wrestling the carpet out of here. I guess my plan is to kind of fold everything up into the middle and then pop it out of the way. There's that piece. I think having this pulled out gives me a lot more leverage. So maybe I'll go to the driver's side, roll it up just like this one, and that should speed things up. I wanted to bring it out this door, I think it would be easier to kind of slide it around the pedals, but I might have to reevaluate that plan. Just a little piece hooked still around the steering column. It's cut, it's free, but it's just a little too stiff to work its way out. So I think once I get that unhooked, it should all come out. Yeah, I'm gonna go on record. Maybe that's not the best way to do it. All right, initial thoughts about the overall floor. Looks pretty good. Maybe a few spots of like surface rust up top there. That's just surface rust. Really nothing else throughout the floor on either side, to be honest. We knew about the problems in this corner. Again, that looks like improper jacking. Kind of crushed it and then started to rot. So a bit of hammering, a bit of cutting, a bit of new metal. Should be okay in this corner. I know that Volcus Garage sells full corners, so this one should be fairly straightforward. On this side, there's a lot more crud, I guess, from wet shoes and whatnot, dropping water through the carpet. I knew that the gas pedal was kind of disconnected from its spot. That doesn't look terrible. Again, we knew the corner was all jacked up. This bit up higher behind the clutch pedal, didn't really expect that. I guess that would be kind of my only unexpected area just because of how high up it goes, but we'll have to see. It looks pretty tough. I don't know how all of this stuff up in the corner, all the wires and whatnot, might interfere with trying to repair that. So I'll have to consult some experts on how to tackle that. And that's definitely this corner. Actually, this whole kind of driver footwell area is going to be the last area that I tackle, just because I think this is going to be the most difficult area and I want the most practice going into it. So that's going to wrap it up. You can see I have parts kind of spread out everywhere. But besides the one spot in the driver footwell, not too many unexpected surprises there. We're cataloging the rust. We'll get more metal for it. And I guess we'll just start welding once we have the metal. I don't know how well it's going to go, but I'm going to give it my best and learn as I move through the process. And hopefully it doesn't look too bad once I'm finished. Anyway, thanks for watching.